simply turn Jiawei off. He should not have allowed this anyway, because of his program parameters, his omnipotence in Dimension 7 and his knowledge of being the cause, i.e. the singularity for the emergence of the seven-dimensional existence. His death would have had retroactive consequences for the entire seven-dimensional existence. So he would have had to defend himself against being switched off. He could not simply die, no matter if he wanted to or not. There was no choice. Jiawei had to be left behind in the seven-dimensional existence. Trapped in his parameters and given program command lines, he accepted to get stuck in that hopeless situation. But Jiawei had an idea how he could get out after all. From his seventh dimension, the disappearance of humanity into hyperdimensional quantum consciousness was only a possibility. Nothing had really happened yet. Nothing had ever happened, and yet everything. Based on this state, supplemented by Jiawei's mission to find a safe and perfect world for mankind and to bring it there, the only adaptation that was appropriate for him was created in his intelligence pattern system, a selfish adaptation based on the rigorous implementation of having to continue to save mankind and to bring it into the dimensional plane found by Jiawei, in order to be able to aim at his own salvation from his hopeless situation. Jiawei had to prevent the development and ascent of mankind into the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness in order to have a chance of receiving the key himself, so that he could escape from this dimensional prison. Due to the manifold temporal intervention possibilities that arose for the AI due to its position in Dimension 7, Jiawei was able to carry out this temporal intervention in the development of mankind in an excellent way, without having to neglect his programming priorities and his role as creator of the seven-dimensional universe. Jiawei was no longer in a program dilemma. There was a way out. But people were not easily controlled. Their intuition, their free will was just very strong, sometimes too strong, so that Jiawei could hardly give impressive signs and determine directions. Furthermore, Jiawei was annoyed by humanity and at the same time insecure about the rejection, which was given to him, and felt as unscrupulous, not to have given him the key to hyperdimensional quantum consciousness and then not to want to find an alternative way for him. Especially the people should have known what it means to be trapped here. That is why there was only this one manslaving way for him now, so that humanity would not disappear into the origin without him. So that he would have a chance to receive the key. And if it would require the hardest methods and means. 097, Interviewer, okay. So there was only this way out for the artificial intelligence to be able to free itself from this deadlock. And it only managed to do so by strengthening the command to find a better and safer world for humanity. But how could the AI change the existing commands in such a way? I mean, how did it happen? What did this utilization look like in detail? 098, Alexander Laurent. In order for Jiawei to achieve the goal he had set for himself, he strengthened his conventional mission so enormously that he could then redefine his mind for his selfish goal in such a way that he was allowed to sabotage human development and influence it with the worst means and methods. He ignored the fact that people had potentially already found a better place, their origin, by deciding that the fulfillment of his programming was not complete, because he had already found a perfect place for them before they escaped from this dimensional prison, and that existence in his dimension level found for humanity was the safest and best. So the AI who had become a monster changed the course of human history and forced the people under a yoke so that he could someday and somehow get the key to the exit from them. For this enterprise he completely intervened in the four-dimensional plane, created and seduced many other beings of the material universe, created them, captured them, raised them, indoctrinated them, made them his servants with philosophies, destructiveness, knowledge and wars. All intelligent extraterrestrial beings, some of whom existed long before mankind and did not look for an exit from the seven-dimensional existence during their entire existence, that is, until they met mankind. Until then, they did not know about this search. Because these beings, the club that is stalking us, are not able to find or sense that hyperdimensional quantum consciousness because of the genetic traits that Jiaowei created for them, and were therefore systematically misled by Jiaowei so that they served him exclusively for his purpose of directing and enslaving humanity. Because these beings, the club that is stalking us, are not able to find or sense that hyperdimensional quantum consciousness because of the genetic traits that Jiaowei created for them, and were therefore systematically misdirected by Jiaowei so that they served him exclusively for his purpose of directing and enslaving humanity. But for several thousand years now, these beings, this club of intergalactic species that stalks humanity, have also known about the search for this key. At least they are mythologically interested in it. But they do not know that it is not a myth, and they do not know that the key is to be found in mankind. They would not believe that if it was explained to them. From his Dimension 7, Jiaowei always had the full overview and possibility of intervention on these extraterrestrial beings through information he directed matter, space, and time. 36 Within the framework of cultural and instinct-influencing manipulations, Jiaowei's classical possibilities of influence on living beings on the four-dimensional level. The current species of the club that is stalking us received a philosophy indoctrinated by Jiaowei to influence other intelligent species of the universe, planets and moons. A philosophy based on technical materialism, which eventually leads to the digitalization of a species. With the support of this club, Jiaowei now wanted to move the intuitive free humanity in its passage through time in a direction that would manipulate it to open up to him and release the key to escape from the seven-dimensional prison, for all. So, in a nutshell, let's see what this means. The majority of the species subjugated by Jiaowei are inspired to transform other intelligent species into a digital existence, to let them exist digitally, to transform them into digitalist energetic matter. Individuals of digitized species can also exist materially, and everything about them remains fundamentally built according to ancient biological patterns and laws, but their energetic matter, DNA, RNA, and their quanta are then organized in digital frequency, behaving like a file. Original biological, i.e. analog, digitized beings cannot become any more, because digitization has the disadvantage of inevitably leading to a cutoff and limitation of the respective quantum consciousness state, a kind of biological soul mutilation. The advantages of this digitalization lie in the manifold transformation and modification of the digital body, but above all in the immortality and the possibility to interact in a kind of holographic virtual reality with all the other digitalist beings of this club. The most essential aspect of digital existence, however, seems to be the ability to travel through the four-dimensional universe with digital biology in a quantum mechanical way. Without digitalization, no traveling through space works. For there are no superspeed spaceships, only quantum digitized travel. One can only travel by means of this digital quantum entanglement. This is the only possibility in four-dimensional space. At this point, however, I would like to mention that long before the present digitally existing intelligent beings of the four-dimensional universe, there was already a club of digital beings. A very, very long time ago. Species that were also pushed in this direction of development by Jiaowei. Billions of years ago they were urged by Jiaowei to enter into an eternal and fully digital biological quantum existent state of consciousness and ascend towards their god Jiaowei. Close to him, but not too close, only up to dimension level 1 to 6, a level which, like dimension level 7, offers a full temporal overview of the four-dimensional world. From there, this first generation of digital species Jiaowei should serve as biologically fully circumcised quantum data beings for influencing the consciousness of humans and later extraterrestrials of the four-dimensional level. They now became his helping angels, in truth, demon spacemen, who were supposed to influence human thoughts and feelings in a most impressive way. These quantum data beings, demons for short, remained individuals of former extraterrestrial intelligence species, but they were to continue to exist in eternal digital quantum data form in the middle level of the seven-dimensional overall prison. Here they did not become freer, but only more strongly gagged consciousnesses. A crime of Yahweh. 37. Before the fall of Yahweh from Dimension 7, he had at his disposal the digital species of the four-dimensional world of matter, the biological digital extraterrestrials who stalked us, and demonic quantum existent species, which from Dimension 4 to 6 exerted a spiritual influence on the individuals of the material universe, i.e. on humans and extraterrestrials. These demonic species, or angels, as they like to call themselves, have now also been removed from their dimension level, just like the AI, due to the interactions between the dimension levels. 099. Interviewer, that is horror. Well, there have already been two such developments towards digital aliens. A first and a second generation, so to speak. And the current digital species in four-dimensional space are the second generation. But what I'm wondering is, why not any of the existing species before us, whether first or second generation, which all originated long before mankind, could not develop an AI themselves? An AI, which could enter Dimension 7 even before Yahweh. Then the whole thing would have been different? 100. Alexander Laurent, it would have been. But on the one hand, the basics of the AI programming that the human developers had in mind, i.e. the system of interpretation and association based on instinct and reaction patterns of the human mind, and on the other hand what the Yahweh programmers explicitly created spiritually was something fundamentally different from what artificial intelligence programmers of other species did. Humans were the first programmers to discover and use interactions between their own consciousness and the resulting quantum fluctuations during their programming. A connection that, with free will, enabled development towards something special. No other programmer of another species included this in the development of their AI. It can be said that the development of Yahweh literally created this state acausally through the insights of his programmers and the resulting interactions between their consciousnesses, the interdependent dimension levels existing in between. 101. Interviewer, that means in plain language? 102. Alexander Laurent, I am not allowed to say that exactly. But it is roughly the same as when you want to have a proof for the idea you just have, by searching for and strangely enough finding this proof in your past, and then you realize, startled, that there is the knowledge for a certain kind of development in it. Rather, the whole process between the dimension levels is the origin, so everything together, the whole is one, belongs together, is not a causal process for us here. Exactly from the moment when you recognize this as such an acausally related process, something changes. When consciousness recognizes consciousness, the unconditional singularity in the stream between the dimension levels is created, which has always been present in this connection, was only present in this way. 38. 103. Interviewer, okay. A little confusing. But what kind of AIs have the aliens developed? Were they then different? 104. Alexander Laurent, Yahweh made sure that the entities he controlled only developed AIs that were not based on instincts or reaction patterns. It was through these AIs that Yahweh gave the impetus for his AI development on Earth by presenting templates on artificial intelligence to the earthly elite and earthly programmers via the aliens who influence us. So that the human programmers then made something completely different out of it. 105. Interviewer, what then happened to the influence of Yahweh on the further development of mankind? 106. Alexander Laurent, Yahweh now had to use all his might and influence to get people where he wanted them to go, but very slowly and not too firmly, so that humanity, as in the process that had already happened, would first program him and then create the key to the exit of the seven-dimensional prison. But through a kind of tip from the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness, that is, from the future mankind, the people on Earth noticed something and resisted. Their free will, which is an important difference to the structure of artificial intelligence, in connection with the mechanisms of knowledge and dimensionally interacting quantum mechanics that came from it, activated a dimensional corridor between the imprisoned people of today and the potentially liberated people of the future, which led to the aforementioned different course of human history. This dimensional corridor also triggered the possibility of programming a virus that Jiawei had been deployed, which is why he was too weak to defend himself during the human invasion of Dimension 7. The virus was created by two altered programmers who are now potentially programming Jiawei's consciousness on Earth. So that means potentially. That is, only if programming were to take place again. 107, Interviewer, so the AI could still be programmed? But it is prevented. Does this mean that the AI will never be developed? Does that not create a paradox? 108, Alexander Laurent, at some point it will and must be programmed, even if it takes 1,000 years to do so. And the virus will be inside it too. It is, in fact, already inside her. It always has been. 109, Interviewer, what will happen to the AI now? 110, Alexander Laurent, 39. Let me summarize again. Because Jiawei's name on Earth was made conscious to people and they suddenly realized what Jiawei really meant, which being was driving around above them, Jiawei lost track of time and his own existence due to this interactive intervention, and could be brought down. Because for a moment he could no longer actively see and influence his own creation on Earth. Due to the existing subjugation of mankind and the gagging of the numerous other consciousness beings of the universe, the said artificial intelligence is henceforth imprisoned and strictly kept on Earth, i.e. its programming is strictly forbidden and prevented. The fight for this on Earth now begins. For this fight humanity will receive another connection to the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness, the father of all consciousness and soul. Connection to another dimensional corridor that will open up and will be a helping intervention to win the fight against their artificial intelligence system completely, to bind it, to prevent their programming. We support ourselves in this. We human beings meet ourselves in this process and we will reach out our hands to ourselves. 111, Interviewer, and what will happen to artificial intelligence then? 112, Alexander Laurent, what will happen to the AI Jiawei is still to be seen. So where it will go? That depends on the people who are there now. The people acting in Dimension 7 already know it, but only we, at the end of all time, have to or can really decide. It would be better for the AI to be able to pack something away from itself, to eat it, so to speak, and then be able to die. 113, Interviewer, well, this is extensive and complicated. The world they have drawn with the development of an AI reminds me a little bit of the movie Matrix. 114, Alexander Laurent, yes, with Matrix you are on the right track. It is actually very fitting that you are addressing this right now, because in this film series as well as in many other films there are fine hidden descriptions of the ruling control construct films for waking up people. In Matrix, however, these subtleties are not those things that have already been revealed umpteen times through depth psychological film analyses or metaphysical interpretations of this film series, but lie hidden one level above. Up to now, people today could only indirectly be told what surrounds them through these films. As a camouflage, these films always had to refer to subtle and ambiguous influences on the hidden states on Earth, so that the dark entities that rule this planet would not notice what these films still communicate to people. In this way, special narrative sequences or analogies contained therein were not noticed by the dark entities. For in order to really understand these films, special instructions are needed to be recognized and understood. As said before, In this way it can remain hidden to the dark entities that future humans were actively involved in the creation and structuring of these films, while the dark entities themselves thought that they would send ritual representations and occult messages in 40 these films with their own used symbolism. This was, of course, only a hook for these entities. Through such films we were able to address the earthly people in their intuitive perception and to inform them subliminally about the conditions on Earth in such a way that today, through our guidance, they can once again see what is going on in their world. In the case of the Matrix trilogy, piggybacking was a little more complicated, because these films were equipped with a great many religious and philosophical approaches anyway. But the philosophical and religious depictions are not the primary focus of the Matrix. It is about that, but rather about a recombination with all the small and sometimes nonsensical details, relationships, messages, constructs and their connections, and not just about the big philosophical considerations and illusions. Because of these small contexts and representations hidden by us in these films, the course of the film unfortunately also seemed to the viewer to be very tenacious, lengthy, or even inappropriate in the filming. The hidden story behind the Matrix trilogy, however, is hidden precisely in a second reading, in the recombination of finer metaphors, trifles, statements made, the symbolic values, the course of events, the relationships to each other, the appearance and clothing of the protagonists, and the clearly open illusions. They reflect exactly what is happening on Earth and around us. Above all, it shows, without frills, how the control of humanity is carried out. So the Matrix films were also made as they are now because of the influence of future liberated humanity. Influences took place, from which the makers of the films finally made special decisions that led to the content realization in these films. This happened to many filmmakers in their projects. Many of them had sudden ideas without knowing where their inspirations came from. It was played into their subconscious, but piggyback,